Hello, my name is Kerrioth, and today we are going to have a cheeky look at Dominion, which is the Age of Sigmar 3.0 box, the kind of launch box, the fancy Indomitus style box, what is going to be available to celebrate the 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar. And you know what, there is some tasty stuff in here. This is one of those boxes where, personally, I don't think I'm going to partake, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't think pretty much everything in here is pretty much gold. I'm just going to be responsible. It happens every now and again. Also, every time I read or hear the word Dominion, I immediately think of this song, which I'm really hoping doesn't get copyright claimed. It should be like 2 seconds, so it should be fine, but we'll find out. So, let's have... Also, there's a cinematic thing, which you should go and watch. I think it's pretty decent. The animation is maybe a little stiff here and there, but overall, the feel of it, the tone of it, quite nice. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it doesn't feature the absolute best model in the box, which is of course Interaster. So you can't have everything though, can you? So what do we have in this box? In Dominion, well, there's quite a lot of stuff, and it's all entirely new, as you would expect. There she is, the bet. I love it. I love that model. I can't help myself. I might not be getting the box itself because I've frankly got more than enough to paint, and I don't need to start 2 more Age of Sigmar armies. I've got plenty more to be going on with, but at the very least, I will end up with Interaster at least once. Possibly multiples of. That's how much I like that model. But overall, this looks pretty solid. So, you've got 21 Stormcast, 39 Kruleboyz Orruks, so we've got new orcs there. The launch edition core book, a booklet to get started, some War Scroll cards, and 2 Allegiance abilities cards. The main thing is the models. Let's be honest, that's what we're here for. That's what we want to take a gander at, that's what we want to ogle at. And so we will, starting of course with the Stormcast Eternals. What else would you expect? We have talked about Interaster the Celestial Spear before. I still love her, I still want her in my life. There is really not much else to say. I just want this model like you wouldn't believe. I still have a vague plan to do 2 versions of this, which would require buying 2 of her, but I've got some wings, some Nighthaunt wings from the winged horse riding dude, whose name I can't remember. Some Reignor the Grim Hailer or something, maybe he might be called. I forget. But I want to get 2 of her. One of them is going to have 4 angel wings, because I want that. The other one is going to have the set of creepy Nighthaunt wings, and instead of the big crown behind her head, have a bunch of candles and iron railings and stuff. Make little changes to the armour, not for any particular reason, not because I need it, because I've had that thought now, and the only way to get rid of thoughts like that is to actually do it. So I'm just looking forward to getting my hands on her, frankly. That sounds a little dodgy, but it's fine. So, we've already looked at her. We know how I feel at this point. We also have, though, the Lord Imperator with Gryph-hound. And again, slightly different style with the Stormcast armour. Not quite as wide, not quite as girthy, a bit slimmer, a bit more... I hesitate to use the word realistic, because it's still a Stormcast Eternal, so it's not like real, but more like toned down, I would suggest, in terms of the armour itself. Slightly different style of helmet as well. It's still obviously similar to the older helmets, but there's a different feel to it. There's a different feel to the helms on these guys. And again, I quite like this guy. The change in style to the weapons, I really like. They feel just like a bit simpler, a bit less fancy, a bit more brutal, a bit more minimalist almost. That hammer is just a big block. It's just a big block of metal with a bit of engraving on it, which feels very different to the other hammers that have kind of got the kind of flared heads, and you've got all the little lightning shapes around them. There's just something a bit more simple about these weapons that I really like. He's also got his little Gryph-hound there, and I'm assuming that Gryph-hound is looking particularly annoyed or upset because he has another Gryph-hound as a cloak. We also have the Knight Arcanum, and I really like this model. This is solid. That helmet is creepy. The lack of mouth, it sells it. It sells it for me. I don't know why, but there's something about kind of almost like blank masks that just have that kind of extra hint of weird and scary. And I really like the fact that there is an option for this model that has got a mouthless mask. It's a nice little touch. Again, you've got like a kind of raised collar thing at the back, but it's not quite as spiky or kind of crown-like as a lot of the current Stormcast stuff. The staff is relatively simple. I really like the books and the scrolls hanging down there. Those look really, really good. That's a nice model. Following on from her, we've got the Knight Vexillor with Banner of Apotheosis, because of course, what else would this be? That's a super solid banner. That is a super solid model. Imposing, tall, nice mix of kind of ornamented and engraved and relatively plain. That's nice. That is nicely done. That is very nicely done. I do like that banner a lot, even if on that model the the banner pole is not actually straight. If you look at it, it's not straight. The top half of it is pointing one way, and the bottom half of it is only just slightly pointing a slightly different way, which is just one of those things that once you notice it, you can't not notice it, and I felt like spoiling a few days, so there you go. Other than that, again, it's well proportioned. That's still quite a wide model, it's still quite chunky, it's very heavily armoured, obviously, but the proportions feel just slightly better. The chest feels more kind of exaggerated in that the chest feels wider than the waist, and frankly, with a lot of the current Stormcast stuff, even though that is technically the case, where like the chest is wider than the stomach at least, like the midriff, it doesn't always look that way. They are very kind of chunky, girthy models. They look very broad. These still have that, but only really across the shoulders. Everything else has been slimmed down just that little bit, and I feel like it improves the proportions somewhat. Slightly more fancy sword there with the engravings, but again, I really like this, and I'm afraid if you're thinking to yourself, is there going to be a point where it's like, oh, this I hate? It's kind of unlikely, to be honest, because I think pretty much everything in this box is pretty solid. So these are the Praetors, and again, we've got like a different kind of take on the helmets. That one almost looks like it has a fluid expression. It's not locked in one expression. It can do other expressions as well, which is interesting. That's an interesting thing. I don't know whether that's like part of like a new part of lore or something, where the helmets actually have varied expressions, or whether that's always been the case, and I just assumed that they're locked in one kind of death mask thing, like the Blood Angels have. But that kind of looks a bit more lifelike. And again, I really like it. Nice, brutal looking, massive. Is that a halberd or is it just a massive axe? I think it's a halberd, isn't it? It'll probably say up here. Doesn't say. No, doesn't say. It's fine. Either way, looks decent. I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of the big cloth wrapped around on that one. It doesn't look quite right to my eyes, but it's a kind of stylistic thing. I can see why they've done it, but I feel like in a way it kind of takes away from the more reasonable aspect of these. But they are overall solid models. Again, they are overall pretty good. We've also got the Annihilators, which we've already seen one of these. We saw this lad, I believe, before. These are properly chunky. Like massive, heavy, like really heavy armour. All of them obviously are heavily armoured because they're all in like fantasy plate. But these, you've got like the almost like triple shoulder stack thing going on there. The greaves at on the legs are really, really wide and hefty. They are chunky lads. Very much just the Terminators of the Stormcast Eternals. Or aggressors, I guess, but Terminators are cooler, so we'll say that. I do like them, though. I do like them. Solid. They're so, like, imposing. So imposing. And again, I can't tell you how much I like the hammers they have. Those are cool weapons. They look great. We also have the Vindicators as well, which we'd seen before, so they've got their spear and shield setups. These are the ones that really do feel like considerably different from the current Stormcast range, because they just have that kind of slimmed down, more kind of realistic, vaguely approach to things. They just look more functional and less fantasy. It's a good look. It's a good look. I do like the little mini banner as well. That's cool. Really nicely done. Really nicely done. But outside of that, we've got the Kruleboyz Orruks. So I've seen a few people kind of not sure about these guys because they do have one particular thing that is a little bit different. So they are Orruks. They're designed with cues going back to the early days of Warhammer, which actually you can tell with the way that they've been done. And I think these are like folded into like the other Oryx stuff as well. But we've got the killer boss on Great Gnash Tooth. This is a solid model. It feels darker and in a way less cartoony than a lot of the well, I say a lot of the AOS stuff. That's not fair. Age of Sigmar has got such a varied range that I don't think you can just sit there and go, oh well, it's all cartoony, because I don't think that's true. Some of it is like properly nightmarish, and this feels more gritty, a bit more grimdark, I think. Like the actual, like the Gnash Tooth thing, that is a terrifying creature. It's a pretty hideous creature, and it looks very Lord of the Rings to me. The actual boss himself, the main thing that kind of seems a little bit off is how short the legs are. And I know a lot of people have commented on that. These guys, proportionally, their legs seem really short. Now the thing is, the legs are a bit short on all orcs. Like they just are. They've had a long torso and relatively squat legs forever, but it feels particularly pronounced with these guys, and I think it might feel particularly pronounced on purpose. Like I feel like the torso has been elongated that a little bit more, or maybe like they're standing a bit straighter, their backs aren't hunched as much. Also, their heads are like on top of their shoulders instead of being hunched forward in front of them. So it all seems to add up to making them look like they've got these really long torsos, which I think is a bit... That's very much a like a personal taste thing. I quite like it. I think it gives them an interesting silhouette, kind of marks them out from the other Oryx that are available, and I quite like it for that. But I can see why people might think it looks weird. The shield's got some really nice grisly trophy details on there, the heads and the hands as well. The shield being that big face with the tusks and the tongue hanging out is a nice touch. The shield's like modelled after Kragnos' face, so like in homage of the big man himself, which I like that a lot. He's got a suitably brutal looking helmet. They just look kind of brutal in nature, which is nice. You can see as well that things like the little bits of armour plate that they've got kind of line up to what Kragnos has, but it's clearly done as a kind of copying thing. It's not because these guys have got like ancient equipment, it's because they've seen what Kragnos has and they are copying it. Again, really nice touch. So we've also got the Swamp Caller Shaman and Potgrot, which is amazing, by the way. The Potgrot, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, would stir again. Just look at it, it's so good. Got a right ugly wide mug on him as well. I do like the fact that the shaman has got a giant skull, like as like a piece of armor on his back. Having a giant skull that's pretty hardcore. That is pretty hardcore. It looks great. It really does. The spikes going out the top of it kind of give this really creepy feel to the model. The staff being that big bronze hand. It's so well done. It is so well done. I really like this. I think they've outdone themselves with this one. Following on from him, we've got the killer boss with stab grot, which is amazing. So the killer boss, obviously ruthless, ambitious, having backstabbed, poisoned, and otherwise disposed of anything that stood between them and their leadership goals. But the grot is into stabbing things, but can be kicked in front of a blow meant for the killer boss. So the stab grot, he's there to cut lads up, but in a pinch, he'll take the hit. Not willingly, he'll just get kicked in front of it. Absolutely peak orc, loving it. Also, this guy can be built with a couple of different things by the look of it. So he's got that awful looking axe. By the way, that axe is terrifying. It just looks ugly, and I mean, all axes look like they'd hurt if someone hit you with them. That's kind of a given, but that just feels unnecessarily cruel. That's what I would describe as a cruel looking weapon, which, you know, makes sense given the name of the lads, but again, cool helmet. I like the jagged spikes coming off it, and the fact that you can swap the shield out for a big old, is it a flail or a morning star? I don't know what the actual difference between the two of them is. Is it a length of chain thing, or how many heads it's got on it? I don't know, but either way, you can give him another hefty weapon. This is also a good example of the kind of long torso and relatively short leg thing. I genuinely think it wouldn't stand out nearly as much if it wasn't for the fact that these guys, like these orcs, their heads are on the top of the shoulders. They are not hunched forwards. When you look at like the Ironjaws stuff, they have like the classic orc physique of the shoulder, like the heads are like forward. They're massively hunched over. These guys don't have that. They don't have it. They stand up straight, which really emphasises how much shorter the legs are. But I like it. It gives them a different feel. It gives them a different presence to the other Orruks. I like it as a distinguishing feature. I think it works. And I really like that kind of gladiator-style helmet on the stab grot. It's a nice touch. The Merc Knob with Belcher banner has got the weirdest name so far. Nice head hanging off the stomach plate there. Another hideous weapon. And I mean a hideous banner as well. That looks like... that's actually a real tongue. That's something's real tongue that's just been slapped into the banner. It is gross. It's really disgusting. They just are so... this whole like faction, I think you could sum up as ugh. They just have an ickiness to them. Like, it looks like there's saliva from the tongue dripping down one of the totems on the banner there. Ugh, gross. Just gross. Looks great, but disgusting. We also have Man Skewer Bolt Boys. These are some of my favourites. I love these. I really do. Massive crossbows. Like, just the sheer size of them. The thing is, I like the way that the kind of, is it, what would you call it, the stock on the crossbow is it's so long. It's absurdly long, but the actual arms aren't all that long. It feels very true to orky crafting that they'd make them like that. They've just got so much personality, these guys. They really have. The extra blades and spikes that have been put on them as well, like that spike coming out of that guy's helmet too. I just think they've done such a good job with them. They look so unique and full of personality. Just super well done. Got gut rippers with spears and shields. Nice parallel to the Stormcast ones there. Again, super solid. Relatively lightly armoured, but you've got a few with a helmet or a shoulder pad. All of the shields have got these kind of grotesque faces on them. And again, the spears feel almost improvised. Just jagged shards of metal on the ends of sticks. That's pretty much what they've gone for. Really nicely done. We also have Hobgrot Slitters. So, diminutive allies of the Kruleboyz, Hobgrots lob strange explosive devices and wield wicked daggers. These are ugly as sin. Absolutely hideous. That hook hand on that guy, just awful. Like, these are creatures that you don't even need to know the history behind them. You look at them and you go, well, they're clearly evil. They are 100% evil. There is no redeeming feature for these ever, I'm assuming. The armour looks really cool, the armour looks really good, but they are some hideous, hideous creatures. Oh, man. The ones with, like, the two daggers as well, I just feel like it It hammers it home. Some of them having the kind of serrated edges. Just horrible little creatures. Ugh. I like them, but they are horrible. So, along with that, there's the core book, which the cover, we've already talked about the cover art for this. It looks amazing. The other stuff as well, like the cards and intro to playing, all of that stuff. But it's not just that. It's not just that. So after the box drops, there are more things on the way, because of course there are. So we've got the Knightjudicator with Gryph-hounds. I'm curious as to whether this is just going to be like this is a squad. Because, I mean, those Gryph-hounds are pretty sizable. And he's on an oval base. That, again, I think that's a really good looking model. The bow, I much prefer the actual bow. Rather than having the weird magic half crossbow thing, I really like an actual bow. It just looks better to me, that does. Like, considerably better. There's, I don't know, like a strength there that just doesn't feel the same when it's like a weird magic crossbow thing. It just looks better to my eye. Maybe because it looks a bit simpler again. Maybe that's all it is. But yeah, the Gryph-hounds look cool as well. They've never really necessarily been my thing, but I can appreciate why other people like them. The Stormstrike Chariot is fantastic. Get major gladiator vibes off this, and that is not a bad thing. All it's missing is some blades sticking out of the wheels, which you could absolutely model on if you wanted to. I'm sure all of us have got any number of extra swords lying around from various projects. You could absolutely stick some on the like the hub of the wheel, and that would look pretty cool. Again, I really like the female Stormcast there. She looks great. Kind of reminds me of Neve Blacktalon, but like a bit less fancy. And Neve Blacktalon is one of my favourite models that Games Workshop has ever done. I've got 4 versions of Neve Blacktalon one way or another. One of them is a Chaos Champion for my Emperor's Children. 2 of them got used as D&D characters, and the other one has been converted into a Dark Mechanicus Magos. So I do like that kit a lot. None of them have been painted or used as Neve Blacktalon, but it's me. What else did you expect, frankly? So it's not just Stormcast. We also have more of the Kruleboyz. This is solid. So this is the Beast Skewer kill bow. That is fantastic. That is such a good model. It ticks all the boxes for me. Like borderline artillery. You've got like a kind of almost ramshackle feel to it. Fires massive barbed bolts out. It looks ugly but functional, terrifying because if it hit you, it would absolutely obliterate you. Oh man, and just all the little details on it as well, like the way the rope's been done and the little grots that are assisting with it. It's just fantastic. It is absolutely great. That's one of those that is one of those models where I kind of just want to paint it, even if I never used it. I just want to paint that. It just looks so good, so good. And then there's the Breaker Boss on Maya Brute Trogoth. Now I feel like this is more of a serious Trogoth. There are of course other Trogoths available, but this again feels like more of a kind of almost Lord of the Rings take on Trogoths. Got a nice bit of tree wrapped in iron for one weapon, and an actual carved kind of club covered in spikes for the other. Looks really, really good. Oh, again, they've just done such a good job with all of these. They've just gone. It's so good. It is so good. I just have no complaints at all. I just like everything. There's no. I can't even really offer all that much in the way of like criticism or anything because I just like all this stuff too much. There's obviously a tie-in book as well there. So the Dominion box will be available to pre-order in June, which not that long. Box will be available while stocks last, and they've made lots, but it certainly won't be around forever. It'll go real quick. If you want to get one, you're gonna have to sit there like hammering the refresh to make sure that you pick one up, because yeah, there's no way that this isn't going to sell out immediately. Understandably so, in my opinion, understandably so. I mean, if we go back up here, the contents for the box are, there's like a good amount of stuff in there, and for my money at least, outside of, I say there's no criticism I can offer, that's not true. Outside of the banners on the Stormcast with the halberds, I just don't have any real complaints about anything in here. I think this is one of those rare, borderline solid gold all-round boxes for me. It's taking actual self-control to not think, well, even if I don't paint it straight away, I could still get it, and then just, you know, when I get around to it. But no, I'm leaving it for people who really want it and will actually use it. But the temptation is there just because I like everything in here. I really do. Just super, super solid, super well done. Question is, what do you think? Do you like the look of all of this stuff? Is there anything that's jumped out at you as being particularly exactly what you want? Is there anything that you're looking at thinking, actually, I'm not sure about that? Let me know in the comments down below. You plan on picking it up? That's the other question. In the meantime, feel free to click all of the stuff, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to, and as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you would like. I leave it in your capable hands. I'll see you next time.